Hello you crazy people, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about the RTX 3080. Is it even a worthwhile purchase, and do you even need one? So let's get right into it. Alright, so first off, I want to let you guys know I did finally get an RTX 3080, which is really exciting. I've been playing with it for about a month now, and I feel like since I've been playing for it that long, I'm now qualified to tell you kind of what I think about it and why you may or may not even want to consider one. So let's just get right into some of the reasons I love the MSI Gaming X Trio RTX 3080. So anyways, just starting off, this card is amazing. It runs almost dead silent, even under full load, which is quite amazing from a card with 320 watts of output power. It's kind of insane. So this thing runs, like I said, whisper quiet. I don't notice it while gaming, and actually the loudest power supply, actually the loudest source of noise in my whole PC is actually my power supply's fan. So that tells you exactly how much power this thing's sucking up. But this thing looks, I think, stunning. It looks great, and I love the aesthetics of it. So overall, I think the card is pretty well designed, and I do like the RGB, especially how tasteful it is with the strip there on the top, and then you got like the little bit of RGB on the sides. I think it just looks overall pretty sharp. I don't really have any complaints with this card, to be honest with you. Thermals are also really great. Under full load, like an artificial test, you're getting about 55 degrees Celsius, which is very, very reasonable when you consider that this card is drawing as much power as it does. So overall, I just like this card, to be honest with you. It looks great. Something that I don't like about this card is its price tag, and it's continuing to go up. So let's just talk about that real quick. I'm doing like the real quick here. With the price tag of, I paid after tax $860 for this card, which is a lot of money. It's a very hard pill to swallow, and we're going to get more into that a little bit later as to whether I think it's worth it or not. But it is a really nice card, but that's a lot of money to spend on one PC component, you know? It's hard to justify that in a lot of ways. But given the current GPU market and how stupid things are, this wasn't the worst decision, I don't think, to buy. But I think the card, maybe, I don't know if it's quite worth $860. Again, I didn't factor in tax when I was buying this card, which may have been my own failing there, but it's decent. So what I actually did while I was waiting to get the RTX 3080 for a while was I actually downgraded from a GTX 1080 and sold that, and was using an RX 480, which is a 4-year-old card at this point, almost 5 years old, sent in here in 2021. So that's a pretty serious downgrade from a GTX 1080 down to an RX 480. So I did go with the 8GB version, and we're going to talk a little bit about that because this is also a really important point. The RX 480 actually impressed me. So it wasn't the most powerful card on the planet, and it wasn't necessarily the best. But what impressed me about this little card is how much you're able to do with it. And at the time, although like I'm saying, at the time, you cannot find these cards for anything less than $200 nowadays, I picked up this RX 480 for about $80, which was an amazing deal about a year or two ago. So given that that card cost me only 80 bucks, it's really hard to justify the RTX 3080. And that's another thing. You don't have to spend this kind of crazy money to have a good gaming experience. You can do just fine on a much cheaper card and still enjoy your PC to the fullest. So I was running at 1440p, 144 Hz. That's my main display here. So I'm like, you know, hey, it's not going to be ideal, but for a few months I'll deal with an RX 480. So I downgraded, and I was actually pretty impressed. So the RX 480, for example here, it isn't bad, okay? Don't get me wrong, it's just not perfect. Now, if I was running something like 1080p, I don't know if I'd feel a great need to upgrade. The 1080p is not a hard resolution to hit, and it's really not hard to push 144 Hz 1080p in the games that I play, at least. So that's just something that I've learned you don't necessarily have to worry too much about. If you're running a 1080p monitor, something like an RTX 3080 or even 3070 might be so ridiculously overkill that you will not notice a serious improvement going from a slightly older card. So for that reason, I would not recommend anybody go with an RTX 3080 for 1080p. if you're going for 1440p, you know, 60 hertz or 144 hertz, now an RTX 3080 or 3070 might make a little more sense for you. So something like that is really where an RX 480 or 580 or, you know, a GTX 1050 Ti, 1060 is really going to start to struggle, especially in newer games. So when you really kind of bump the settings up, you bump that resolution up, you're going to really be missing a lot of performance, you know, that you had at 1080p. So for something like that, an RTX 3080 or 3070 or even heck, a 3060 Ti would be a great upgrade. So I can't like not recommend the RTX 3080. It's just you have to find the right uses for it, if that makes sense. And if you're running at a lower resolution, even though yes, the RTX 3080 is more than enough than you'll need, you'd probably be pretty happy with your gaming experience. If you're going with something a little lower end, you're not really going to notice, you know, a frame rate improvement. If you're already running a lot of your games, especially lighter games at say 144 hertz, you're not going to notice a difference if you only have a 144 hertz monitor. So, you know, hey, I'm just saying, you don't have to spend $860 on an RTX 3080. So actually, let's get into what I think about the value. Was the RTX 3080 a worthwhile upgrade for me as a content creator, also as a streamer, a gamer, and as a 3D artist and animator? Let's get into that a little bit. So really starting things off here, you'll notice that the RTX 3080 doesn't really have as much of an impact in gaming for me as it did with general content creation and general usage. So one of those things you'll really notice right off the bat, as you know, if you're a power user, somebody like me who's really using a card for content creation and recording and streaming and all that, is that you really will notice the biggest differences in just your overall performance when you're doing these tasks. So like if you're video editing, it's a lot smoother on RTX 3080, for example, than the RX 480 ever was. It's not that RX 480 was bad, it's just the RTX 3080 just has, I don't know, just a little bit more going for it, you know? Also a big thing was Blender. So if you guys don't know, I make all of my intros and stuff myself. I don't hire a graphics artist, and I don't use templates for any of my stuff. So everything I do is made in Blender, and rendering stuff in Blender can take a long time with an RX 480, especially when you're using like cycles. What's great about the RTX 3080 is that it has optics, which if you don't know, basically utilizes those ray tracing cores on the RTX 3080 to accelerate your Blender projects like a ton. So it takes your main project, instead of like throwing it to OpenCL for AMD or CUDA for NVIDIA, it actually renders with optics on the GPU's RTX cores. So that just makes everything so much faster. I went from renders it would take, say, 3 minutes to get a render done to literally 14 seconds. That's how much faster the RTX 3080 was. So for me, the RTX 3080 doesn't really shine unless I'm doing something pretty heavy like content creation. And that's where I really found this card to really take off and really be able to stretch its legs a bit. Of course, streaming is a really big important thing, and recording. And the RTX 3080 is an absolute champ when it comes to this. So when you're streaming, you can record in insanely high bit rates, insanely high quality using NVENC instead of X264 for OBS, and that helps a lot. And that's a really great feature to have on an RTX 3080. And I think probably by far my favorite thing about it is actually NVIDIA Broadcast, which I'm using right now. So yep, this is me. Hi, how are you doing? So I'm actually using NVIDIA Broadcast with the green screen removal, which is really a great tool. So you know, I actually don't have a green screen up right now. I just have NVIDIA Broadcast using the AI cores to actually remove that whole background that you don't even see. So it's pretty amazing. It's not perfect, but you know, for me as kind of a part-time streamer, content creator, this helps a lot. So I just think overall this makes all the difference. So, you know, hey, I don't mind those features, but the thing is, if you're just a gamer and you're just looking for higher frame rates and higher FPS, just better quality overall, those types of things, you're not really gonna care that much, I would say, about an RTX 3080 or any other card. There's a lot of other great cards on the market that will do the task just fine. So I'm just saying, there's other cards like, you know, even a last gen card. I know the market is absolutely garbage right now, but you could get a last gen card for not that much money and it would do the job just fine. So basically that's my point, is that you don't have to get an RTX 3080 to get a good experience. An RTX 3080 and a 3070, you know, even though it's a little less performance, they're kind of the same ballpark. You're not going to notice much of a difference unless you're really a heavy user, a content creator. If you know of a certain program you're going to be using that just pushes your card to the max, then maybe you'll notice a difference. But I'd say for the average user, especially given the pricing and hard availability of an RTX 3080 and 3070, I would stick to something like a 3060 Ti. If you can find one, that'd be great value. Or even a last gen card. There's a lot of good cards out there, like an RX 5700 XT. That's a very solid card that can do 1440p just fine. And if you're looking at something from NVIDIA, again, something like an RTX, I don't know, 2080 Ti, if you can find one, even a 2070, they're great cards. They're not outdated. And really, when you think about it, tech isn't really out of date unless you decide it's not fast enough for you. So as long as it's doing what you need to do, that's fine. And so for that reason, I guess I would recommend an RTX 3080. It's not a bad card. I just would say, I don't know if I'd recommend it, especially if you're on a budget, over something a little bit lesser. It's not a bad card. I'm thoroughly impressed with it, but I'm just saying you may want to consider alternatives as well. Alright guys, hope that was an interesting video. Hopefully you didn't get bored. If you did like the video, hit the like button down there. Hit subscribe if you're so inclined. And check out the Discord too. We have updates and cool stuff going on there soon. So anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.